Welcome, and thank you for taking time to view this presentation. If you bought a house for $200,000 in 1990 and got $300,000 for it today, you'd feel pretty good about the profit you made, right? Well, actually, you lost $34,000 on that deal. That's right, $34,000. Why? The buying power of the US dollar has declined so much since 1990 that you need about $334,000 today in order to have the same buying power that $200,000 did in 1990. In other words, you need $134,000 more today than you did in 1990 in order to buy the exact same thing. Here's another question. Suppose that you're going to retire in 20 years. You have $200,000 saved up for that. How much do you think that $200,000 will be worth when you actually retire in 20 years? What kind of house do you think you'll be able to buy with $200,000 20 years from now? Why is your money losing value so fast? What will happen to your money in the future? Is it even possible for you to save up enough money for a nest egg? Right now, the world is facing a lot of problems, including inflation, out-of-control deficit spending by the government, the centralization of government control over all aspects of human life, and with the narrowing of opportunities and choices that centralized government control brings, we see an astounding increase in dependency on the government for things that people used to be able to provide on their own. Again, as a result of centralized government control, personal freedoms are disappearing at an alarming rate. Everywhere, local economies are struggling in a way that hasn't been seen for generations. These problems have been unsolved for more than a century. All of these problems are symptoms and not root causes. In fact, all of these problems have one root cause. None of these problems can be solved without addressing that one root cause. And the root cause is actually very, very simple. All aspects of business, commerce, and life itself are in the hands of whoever controls the currency. For at least the last 2,000 years, governments, whether they be controlled by potentates, princes, prime ministers, or presidents, have seized control over the currencies used within their borders. Most people think that only governments can print real currencies. That is false. There are many examples in history of valid currencies minted by entities other than governments. But governments exert power over the currencies of their nations for one reason: control. Control over a nation's currency gradually concentrates power from the many to the few and eventually leads to control over all aspects of human life within that nation. The survival of political democracy depends on economic democracy. Using the checks and balances that free currency markets provide, democracies can prevent the over-centralization of power into the hands of the government, or anyone else for that matter. For as long as government is prevented from interfering with currency markets, people will have the freedom of choice in which currencies they use. The threat to currency issuers of an exodus from their currency will keep them from using it as a weapon against others to gain power. It's important to note that even in a free currency market, there will be those who try to elicit government help in defeating their competition. It is often the case that many successful free market capitalists in history have, as soon as they become successful, abandoned free markets and done their best to have the governments create a monopoly for them. Businesses and individuals who use government to help them avoid competition are not only subverting free markets, they are subverting democracy itself. This is called crony capitalism, and it has nothing to do with free markets. It's interesting to note that both crony capitalists and socialists or communists have the same endgame in mind: the concentration of power and wealth from the many to the few. For political democracy to survive against the onslaught of crony capitalists, socialists, and communists, there must be economic democracy. At Cognisaya LLC, we are creating technology that will solve these problems. Our software will enable a free market of competing currencies in which only the most stable, usable, and valuable forms of money can survive. Our software also lets people build an economic democracy where everyone can choose which currencies they want to use and use multiple currencies as easily as using one currency. With our software, you can form cooperatives with people that you trust that enable you to transcend money itself. You literally can buy, sell, and do business with no money at all. We also enable you to create innovative new financial instruments that bring greater fairness and humanity to the marketplace. To learn more about our solutions, please go to www.cognisaya.com and click on the Learn tab from our homepage. If you want to understand why there is inflation, why governments are running out of money, and the other effects of economic monopolies, please watch our presentation entitled Economic Monopoly. To learn more about how government controls money through legal tender laws, please watch Legal Tender, which is also on the Learn page. We are actually releasing a new form of digital currency that never, ever suffers from inflation. It's called the Qbit. To learn more about Qbits and how they create economic democracy, please watch the Qbit. The issuing of the Qbit invigorates economies and creates new business opportunities that could only be imagined in the past. To find out more about them, please watch Scenarios Enabled by the Qbit System. To get in-depth information on how the Qbit works, please watch the Qbit System in detail. To understand how the Qbit can have the same buying power over time, please watch the Qbit Value Formula. If you're wondering how a currency that is not issued by a government could have value, please watch What Gives Money Its Value. To learn more about how individuals, companies, and non-profit organizations can issue currencies, please watch Private Currencies. To find out how you can buy, sell, and do business in ways that invigorate your local community, please watch Credit Clearing Cooperatives. If you want to know more about how you can create financial instruments such as mortgages, stocks, and bonds that are unique, innovative, and more humane than anything we have now, please watch Innovation in Credit Clearing. To know more about how you can keep value in your local economy and build a better future for your hometown, please watch Local Currencies for Local Economies. Thank you, and we hope that we can help you build a brighter future for you and your family.